Hey everybody, Work here. I just finished up Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and I wanted to talk about it. Look, I understand this game came out like a year ago on PlayStation, but I just played it and I think it's something I'd like to talk about. It might not be relevant at all, but here we are talking about a game called Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Let me just start out right now saying that I loved this game. It was very good, and I'm gonna go over sort of the game here. We're gonna try to go over a bunch of it. I certainly won't get all of it. This game is a confusing story with dimensional travel and other stuff, so please let me know how wrong I am in the comments, because I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of it wrong. I guess the main part of this game, the story, so we'll start that up here. I will do my best from memory to summarize what happens in the game. Feel free to call me a dummy in the comments, because I'm sure I'm gonna miss your favorite part or completely misunderstand an important part of the game. Let's just get to it. So like I said, the game starts out where Cloud and the rest of the squad are in Calm. Cloud is reminiscing about his journey with Sephiroth to Nibelheim. There's a reactor there that is having some problems, and Cloud and Sephiroth and company gotta go figure out what is wrong. So we go through a pretty long flashback there. We go through Calm, we go up to the reactor, and that's where Sephiroth discovers some disconcerting papers about sort of where he came from, and goes a little crazy, you know, burns down the village, kills everyone. You know, you go a little crazy sometimes, right? Cloud, remembering perhaps very incorrectly his role in all of that, sort of talks about what he experienced or thought he experienced. But so anyway, that whole subplot ends. Wait, no, the game starts with Zack coming to Midgar. You guys, the game starts in an alternate dimension, just like it ended in an alternate dimension. So yeah, the game starts, you're playing as Zack in a weird alternate dimension. The sky's all crackly and weird. Is it meteor? Is it the convergence of the timeline? The reunion, as Sephiroth likes to say a lot later on. But so you're Zack, just like at the end of Remake, you see a flashback, which is what I thought, but no, I guess it was an alternate reality in where Zack returns to Midgar and he has this big fight at the very end of Remake. So the very start of Rebirth, you continue with Zack, and it looks like all the Avalanche squad was either killed or very, very hurt. We see Barrett and Red carted away on stretchers. We see Aerith and Cloud both in dire straits. I honestly thought they were dead, but no, I guess they're not, as we'll see later. But then we cut from the from the alternate dimension. We cut immediately to Cloud and company in Calm, and we go instantly into a flashback where Cloud talks about what he remembers doing in Nibelheim with Sephiroth all those years ago. What he remembers is they came into Nibel and went up to check out the reactor there. It's been having some problems. You get some nice moments of Cloud interacting with Sephiroth, where Sephiroth kind of feels more like a human, more like a person, versus just the the evil whatever quest he's on for the rest of time. But so we see those little interactions. It's nice. You get to run around, you get to feel a little bit of the openness of the game. You get to play as Sephiroth a little bit, which is pretty nifty. Pretty nifty. It's pretty nifty to play as Sephiroth. But yeah, so you go through all of that. Sephiroth ends up in Shinra Manor, figures out maybe he's not who he thinks he is, goes a little crazy like you do, burns down a town, kills all the villagers. Tifa's dad runs up after him. That doesn't go well. And then we cut back to present day, whatever that is, with the Avalanche crew and Cloud in Calm. Then Shinra invades, bunch of planes over top. You gotta escape out the basement of the establishment there. There's a guy, Broden, who is there, seems a little bit off. Talks a bit about his mysterious past. You do a couple side quests for some people to learn a little bit more about Broden's past. Turns out he might have been a soldier, or at least experimented on by a Hojo. I kept thinking he was gonna come up in every single part of the game. I was like, Broden's gonna be here. Broden's gonna be here. And then a lot later, Broden does appear, and I completely was blindsided. I was like, there he is, Broden. But yeah, we found him. Anyway, Broden gets you out of the city as Shinra attacks and puts you out into the open world for the first time, and you feel the size of the game at that point. You're climbing on rocks. It feels a little like Zelda. It's a great feeling right at the start. So you're out in the open world. And if you've ever played Final Fantasy VII original PS1 game, when you get out into the open world, originally you leave from Midgar, but in this you leave from Calm. So we leave from Calm and we are headed to these swamps. We're supposed to cross the swamp into the Junon region. So you gotta go do some chocobo stuff. You get to find a chocobo, you get to sort of capture it. Differently from the PlayStation 1 game, you don't have like little tracks that you can catch multiple chocobo. There appears to be just a single chocobo per region, which is fine. I personally never got into the chocobo breeding. I know that is missing from Rebirth, and I'm sure a lot of people were upset by that, but for me, I never did chocobo breeding. The only time I ever got the gold chocobo was when I just defeated Ruby Weapon and got the free one. I know my brother did a lot of the breeding when I was playing the game originally, and he got the gold chocobo legit. Good for him. I just played and beat Ruby Weapon. You know, that's for me. But anyway, so chocobos are here. You find a single chocobo, you capture it, and you use that to cross the swamps to get to the mithril mines, whatever it is. Anyway, you're going through these mines to get to Junon, but before you can get to those mines, you get caught up with the Midgard Sormer, a big old snake, iconic from the PlayStation 1 game. It chases you. If you fight it, it wipes your party. It has a really sweet enemy skill, Trine, that you can get, I believe it's called. Just a nuclear bomb of fire, pretty sweet. But in this game, you have to fight it. It's a cool fight. You do a lot of stuff, and then Sephiroth shows up and he kills the snake, which, okay, you know, the snake was killed. We saw one of them in the PlayStation 1 game that Sephiroth had definitely impaled, so we sort of get to see how that happens in Rebirth. He sort of saves you a little bit and impales the Midgard Sormer there, and you're able to cross the swamps into the mithril mines. In those mines, you get the fun little explanation of like how materia forms, all that stuff. You see some natural materia growth. Pretty cool in the PlayStation 1 game. In this game, similar. You do fight the Turks in there for the first time in this game. You get introduced to Elena, who is sort of the replacement for Reno. You really don't see Reno a lot in this game. I feel like in the PlayStation 1 game, you saw Reno more, but Elena is the Turk that you fight with Rude, the guy that looks like Keegan-Michael Key, and you get, you know, some cool dialogue there. Once you beat them, you leave the Mithril mines and exit out into Junon, and what a freaking sight. You get to go and just see the Sister Ray up there in the sky, just this giant imposing gun. Really cool. And you get to play some mini games out in this Junon region. In the original game, there was like a big castle, well, a big mountain, and it was Fort Condor. You got to go and do some crazy like mini games in the PS1 game where there's like enemies like coming down at you, and you got to bring your forces up to stop them. That place doesn't really exist in Rebirth. There is this big island with a condor on it way out in the distance, and they're like, whoa, look at that, that's cool, right? And you're like, yeah, that's pretty cool, but where's like the Fort Condor? Where do I get to play that thing? Is it here? And a little later you do actually get to play, it turns out, I guess in Intergrade, which I never played, that there is a board game, like a video game called Fort Condor. I guess that returns in this game, and it was fun. I enjoyed it. Feels different from the PS1 game, but in a good way. I kind of liked how the Fort Condor game was played. It was fun. But so you do some stuff out there, and of course then you head on into Junon. But before you can get to the Junon up above, you got to go to the Junon down below. It's like a little fishing village. Everything's all like kind of screwed up. Obviously Shinra's there, and pretty much anything Shinra touches, he has some problems. So you're down there. It's cool. You get to see all the sights, and the mayor of the town sort of has you go all the way back to this other place to find her son, sort of a fetch quest little thing. But then you come back and Yuffie is there. Really the first time you get a big Yuffie part in the game, and she helps you figure out how to get up to Junon proper, whatever that's called, because there's an elevator in the city, but it's blocked off. The Shinra guys are not gonna let you in. You know, you're terrorists. In the first game, you planted a lot of bombs on reactors. You know, you were probably directly responsible for the deaths of hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of people when the plate of Sector 7 falls and sort of smushes everyone. In the PS1 game, it's all on Avalanche. In the remake, it turns out that Shinra, nasty old Shinra, knew that this was gonna happen and purposely blew up the plate. But I mean, obviously, if we didn't plant the bomb and do all that, it probably wouldn't have happened. So anyway, Shinra at Junon doesn't want, you know, they're not gonna let you go on up that elevator. Obviously, you're wanted criminals, so you gotta find another way up. Yuffie finds out that there's like an elevator above the ocean, but the only way to get to that elevator is to ride a dolphin. So you got like a Wave Race 64 mini game. You're going around, you're picking up stuff, you're dodging things. It's pretty cool. And then you take the dolphin up, just like it happens in the PlayStation game. You take the dolphin up and you go up to Junon, and oh, this is one of my favorite places in the game. You don't ever get to come back to it in Rebirth. Unless, you know, when on hard mode and stuff, you can come back. There's chapter select later, you can do it. But you go on up to Junon. It's awesome. You see the high wind. It's everything you want it to be, right? It's so cool. There's you know, a parade that's happening. Rufus, the son of whoever the hell Shinra Man, is now the president because Shinra Man got killed at the last game by Sephiroth. Coming up, giving him a little stabby. But so Rufus Shinra is now president, and he's getting his like inauguration there. There's a big parade, and of course, just like in the PlayStation 1 game, you get to be in the parade. In this game, you have to like find a bunch of people, of troops to join your parade, and you can sort of choose which parade thing you want to do. There's like a bunch of different formations that range from like 1-star to 3-star. So that was really fun. A lot of different stuff you could probably do. I'm definitely gonna have to go through and see what some of those other formations are, but you go through a mini game. It's like a rhythm game. It's similar to the dancing game that it happens in Remake, but you go through this cool parade, which is awesome. It feels just like you would remember it from PlayStation. It's different, obviously, but the vibes are there. You feel that. So that's really cool. And then Yuffie tries to assassinate Rufus from like 600 feet away with a boomerang that everyone sees coming. It's not a surprise. And when that happens, you gotta make your escape. Thankfully, there's a boat planning on going from Junon to Costa del Sol. Somehow you sneak aboard that boat, and yeah, that's where we're at next. In the PlayStation 1 version, you go onto the boat. Your characters are dressed as Marines, as sailors. In the first game, the boat, clearly a military ship, a cargo ship most likely. You kind of hang out in the cargo bay for a lot of it, and then Genova attacks, and you got to deal with that. You're following Sephiroth the whole time as well, because there's hints that Sephiroth has been here. In this game, it's like a cruise ship. It's like a party boat that for some reason is leaving from the military port, but whatever. You're following Sephiroth still a little bit. I think you're kind of just getting on the boat because it's the way to go in this game. Turns out the boat is a card game tournament happening. So you do the card game, and man, do I love the card game in this game. Queen's Blood is pretty fun. It's a cool little card game, but we'll get into that later when I go into the detail for the mini games, because there's a lot of mini games in this game, which, you know, I think some people might have a problem with, but I personally love. But anyway, we're going off on a tangent in the middle of my tangent. Let's get back to my original tangent. So anyway, we're on the boat, right? We're going through. During this time, I think there's probably another Zack alternate reality. There's a bunch of these like Zack alternate realities where you don't really do much. They're kind of just shoved in to make you remember, oh, remember there's a Zack thing? Because for most of the time, you're like in Aerith's house, and you like walk into a room and press Y, and then it like and then you see like Zack talk to like Aerith's mom occasionally, and then like Aerith and Cloud are like passed out, and I guess you're like taking care of them. But there's so many of these small scenes that really don't go anywhere for the most part. You're just like, okay, this is a thing. Is this happening right now? Is this important? I still don't know if it's important. I guess it is, because it comes up a lot later. So anyway, we're having some of these flashbacks or flash sidewayses with Zack. Anyway, the boat gets attacked. This time it's like Shinra that's attacking the boat. So we fight a bunch of them. There's these robed individuals that are there, and we've been following these robed individuals, always talking about reunion. That also sort of happens in the PlayStation 1 game. You're following Sephiroth, and all these robed dudes are around, but in the PlayStation 1 game, the robed dudes were just like around. They were just like a thing. There was a couple of them here and there. You see a couple dudes talking about reunion. In this game, the robe dudes are like a big feature. You're following them basically the whole way. They're kind of pointing you in the direction. The robe dudes on this boat start getting like absorbed by Shinra, by Hojo Creations, and they turn into like these beasts, and then they have a problem, and the boat sort of gets infested with these like beasts of the robed men that I guess get like transformed by touching a Shinra thing. I don't know. It's there. It happens. The robed dudes also can like just turn into Sephiroth randomly, which I guess probably was exactly what happened in the PS1 game as well, because Sephiroth, not really ever here. All the Sephiroths you fight are just like robed dudes that transform into him, because the real Sephiroth's like frozen in a crater up north for like most of the entirety of Final Fantasy VII. You really only see him for like disc 3 of the original game, right? But so you've got some rogue dudes turning into jerks, and then you fight a little Genova on the boat, which is pretty sick. Love the Genova. Then you get off the boat at Costa del Sol. So Costa del Sol, this beach resort town. There's freaking the segways. You get to ride segways. There's a bunch of fun mini games there. There's like a card game. There's like a game where Red 13 plays Rocket League. It's so cool. So you play these games, you do these things, you get these beach costumes, because you gotta get off. You can't just go to the beach without a swimsuit. I mean, come on. It's crazy talk if you would try to do that. So you gotta get your swimsuits. You go to the beach, and who's there in the PS1 game but Hojo, just hanging out? Hojo's just there. He's just chilling in the PS1 game. In this game, Hojo like flies on a helicopter. It's like a big deal. He shows up and he's like, meh, I'm gonna make like a robot squid attack. And then you have to like fight the robot squid. At this point, Yuffie shows up and like turns that one annoying character Johnny from the first game back into like 1,000 clones of himself, and then he like goes and defeats the robot squid, I guess. Let's tangent right now. That's the thing that like kind of bothered me throughout this game. They made all these brand new characters for remake. You got like Johnny, you got Chadley, you got the lady prostitute, madam lady. You got the thugs. You got this girl Kyrie. They all constantly show up, and it feels like they don't need to be there. I think Square from like the 90s made like such a good game, and then like Square nowadays is like, oh, they made such a good game, we got to make this game good, but like we got to put our stamp on it. And I feel like their stamp are like all these annoying characters that you kind of don't like, and they keep showing up. And it's like, y'all live in the slums of Midgar, right? Like, you're the poorest of the poor, you're downtrodden, you're literally not allowed to leave the city. It's like barred off, impossible. Why are you always everywhere? Like how did you escape? Yeah, you just get to come out here. There's jewels from there's like a random guy from a gym, and he's just like out hanging out, like thugs, like Kyrie. Like, how did y'all leave Midgar? I thought Midgar was like on lockdown permanently. Like, you're stuck, you're poor, you can't afford to leave. But no, I guess everybody just goes on vacation all the time. They're just everywhere you are. So like, that's just like, that happens. So anyway, Johnny, he saves the day with Yuffie, and then you find out that Johnny's gonna run a hotel, and you gotta do a bunch of little side quests to help Johnny get his hotel up and running, right? So that's a thing. You do all of that, you leave Costa del Sol, and we're off on another adventure. We're out on the beach. We are heading to Mount Coral, Barrett's hometown, and we go on up there. Yuffie now in the party. We've got our squad rocking, and we're going up Mount Coral, Barrett's hometown. He is not very loved by his community, it turns out, and we kind of get to see the past with Barrett and with this guy Dine. Similar to the PlayStation 1 game, we see Barrett and Dine's relationship. Dine and Barrett get shot at by Shinra because they were doing something, I don't know. In this game, I guess the reactor exploded due to Shinra, and Barrett and Dine go to tell, but then they're like, Shinra's like, no, you don't get to tell, we're gonna shoot at you. And so that sort of happens. Dine gets lost, presumed dead, and Barrett is ostracized for bringing Shinra into the community and cutting off the coal mines, right? They used to be a coal mining community and everything was going okay. And then Barrett brought the monorail to town. And he said, you know what? Shinra's got the money. We're not going to have to work. And, well, that certainly didn't happen. Barrett got egg on his face, lost his hand and his friend. And, yeah, so now we're coming back. Everyone hates Barrett. They're like, this jerk. They're like, this dude, you know, this guy over here. What's he doing back? Like, why is he here? Right? But of course he is here because we gotta do it on the story. So we go on through and we find out that maybe, just maybe, you know, things are terrible in the town. But we've got the gold saucer to go to. So we go on through, deal with the little bit of Barrett's past, and then we head on up to the gold saucer, which iconically is the minigame capital of Final Fantasy VII in the PlayStation 1 game. It was this giant casino. There's like a bunch of mini games. There's a freaking sky wheel. There's like all this stuff, a bunch of things. So in this game, similar, you go on up, you meet Kate Sith, and you've got a bunch of mini games to do, a bunch of cool stuff. Dio is there, and he looks like exactly like you would remember him, but 4K edition. So that was fun to see. He's kind of like a cool Mr. Satan. But what happens while you're there? You're about to go on the sky wheel, but oh my goodness, there's a shooter. There's a guy shooting up the place. Nobody sees him, but everyone knows he's got a gun on his arm, and that can only mean one thing. Of course, our buddy boy Barrett over here, you know, he's got a gun on his arm. And how many people have guns on their arms? I guess not many. Barrett does, so it's probably him, right? Well, you go and find out that no, it wasn't him, but the real culprit is down in the Corel jail. It's called the Dust Bowl in this game, so you sort of get kicked down there and have to figure out the truth in this little ramshackle town, which honestly looks just as ramshackle as the town where Barrett's from. They kind of look very similar. There's really, I mean, there's a lot of ramshackle towns in the Final Fantasy universe, right? So you go to this little jail, gotta find who the shooter is. Turns out Barrett's old bud Dine's still alive, and he's out in the jail. The mayor of the town, he wears all green with gold teeth. He's like, yo, bro, he's like out in the desert. We kind of caught him. We tied him up. So Barrett is not in your party at this point. You're like, oh my God, do they have Barrett tied up? Of course not. You go to where the guy's tied up and Barrett's there. He's like, yo, dude's in here. He's mine. So you go in with Barrett. You have a little one-on-one conversation with Dine. He's like a regular cool dude, right? He's like, fine. But obviously, somehow he survived. It's never explained in the first game, and explained even less in this game. He's just there, and now he's like got magnet powers, I guess, and he can like attack you with big magnets. Anyway, you take him out. There's like a heartfelt scene because like Barrett is like taking care of Dine's daughter, right? Like Marlene. Hey, what up, doggy? Marlene is not Barrett's biological daughter. No, that's Dine's daughter. So that little girl from the first game is actually Dine's daughter, and Barrett's trying to like appeal to Dine's humanity, like, look at this picture. And Dine's like, I got all this blood on my hands, I can't ever hug my kid again, so I'm gonna shoot Shinra. So like all of a sudden, like 1,000 Shinra soldiers show up, and Dine dies a heroic death shooting at them. And then right as you're about to like get got by Palmer, this sleazy little frog dude from Shinra, Dio shows up, and he's like, yo, we got like, you take care of Palmer, I'll take care of the Turks, because also they're there. And you do that, and then Dio gives you the freaking buggy the same one from the PS1 game. It can go across the sands of the desert, which you weren't able to do before. So you get this buggy and it feels awesome. You're like, oh my God, the buggy's in the game. I would have never expected this. And you get to travel the desert now. Pretty sweet. Bunch of stuff out there. Weird cactar quests and things. There's like this proto relic that exists, and that's like a whole thing you do in every location. Speaking of doing stuff in every location, I'm gonna go off on another tangent. That's something that, like, I don't know, I don't like that about like modern gaming, right? Like in this game, there's like copy pasted assets on every single like area. It's like you gotta find all the towers, you gotta find all the summon like areas, you gotta find all the life springs, you gotta find all the proto relics, you gotta find all the photo op locations. And it's like, do you really need that? I mean, I guess it's something to do, but like there's already so much to do. It feels weird. It feels like that's like a 2020s era Square decision, which is like, we have this perfect beautiful game from the 90s, but like we need to put our spin on it. Let's put these characters nobody likes, and let's put these like copy pasted things that everyone can do to like waste your time. Anyway, they're fine. You do the proto relics, and like you're not allowed to finish this one because reasons. So you can't do the whole proto relic. So instead, you go over to this region, my favorite region in the game, Gongaga. This is the place where Zach came from. Zach's hometown. It's also got like the best freaking soundtrack of any of the open world spots. The soundtrack, by the way, in this game is phenomenal. Everything is great, but this soundtrack just like, oh, it sticks out in my heart. It's a good one. So you go through Gongaga, the rainforest, you go into the town. Turns out there's a new character in the town called Cicely. She's like a mysterious boomerang wielder, and you're like, whoa, what is up with you? You don't really find out. I guess she was a Turk. I don't know. It seems like it's more important than it is. It's sort of a nothing that happens there. You kind of talk to her. She's like, oh, there was like this big tragedy that happened when the reactor exploded. Like, oh, another one, huh? Another reactor exploded. So she's like, why don't you go to the reactor and like do the thing? Yuffie's there, and Yuffie's like, yo, another reactor? Because we saw that reactor in Corel, and that thing had like a weapon in it. And I guess the weapons in this game are like fish with big orbs on their stomachs. I don't know. I hope the weapons end up getting better in the next game, because like all the weapons in this game look the same, and it's like, man, the weapons from the original are like these crazy cool, like unique kaiju that like these giant things that like, it's like Ruby and Emerald and Ultima, and like, oh, they're all so cool and fun and interesting design wise, and all of them in this game all sort of look the exact same. There's like a fish with like a green orb on them, and there's like many of them, and you see them and they're just there. So I hope that like in the next game we get some cool kaijus that aren't just the same little dudes. But anyway, so Yuffie's like, yo, there's a reactor there that exploded, right? Let's go and let's like check it out. Maybe there's like a weapon for some materia we can get, because I guess the orb on their chest is like a big materia, maybe, because like, well, we'll get to it. So you go to the reactor, and this lady from Shinra, Scarlet, shows up in a big mech. Scarlet's like, you can't do the thing, and we're like, oh well, we gotta do the thing, I guess. So then there's a fight, and you like blow up her mech or whatever. And in this point in the PS1 game, I think like Cloud falls into the live stream, but in this game, like Tifa falls into the live stream, and she like gets swallowed by one of these weapons, and she's like inside the materia, if that's even what it is. She's like inside this orb on the weapon. She's like watching, and you see like whispers, and I guess they're back. In Remake, whispers were like this big thing that like these black ghosts would like appear whenever you were doing something that would like change the timeline of the PS1 games. Like these black whispers would appear, but really I think this is like the first or second time you ever see them in this game. And it's like the weapons are like going with these like gray white whispers, and then you see these black whispers, and like the black whispers all like combine, and Sephiroth comes out and he like stabs at Tifa, and the weapon, it like barely misses. I don't know, that happens. And then like Tifa comes out of the live stream, but not before we see a weird like live stream visions where you can like pick all these different places and see sort of the past. And in the PS1 game you do that as well, but it says Cloud, and you're sort of going through and realizing that like, oh man, maybe I'm not me, maybe I'm like Zack the whole time, because like Cloud thought that like he was Zack back in the past. I don't really know. Anyway, but Tifa does it in this game, and Tifa's like, oh man, it wasn't Cloud, it was Zack. Like, why would Cloud lie to me? And so at this point, yeah, Cloud is like kind of going crazy. He's like got like all these staticky little visions, and he is the one that actually like pushes Tifa into the live stream. So anyway, Tifa gets out of the live stream, and you sort of talk about that. And then well, from there, where do you need to go? I mean, you went to the place, you went to Gungaga. Kate Sith was like, go to Gungaga because there's like a big reactor there. So we went there, and then we got to go to Nibelheim, right? I mean, that's the next place. And we went to everywhere else. What's Nibelheim is like where Sephiroth and Cloud went, like the reactor there. There's another reactor. We got to go find out what that reactor's up to. But before we can go to Nibelheim, we got to go to Cosmo Canyon, one of my favorite places in the PlayStation 1 game. Such a great soundtrack there. But like, how do we get to Cosmo Canyon? We don't have like, we can't get there. We don't have like a boat. We don't have anything. But it turns out that there's like an airfield, and our boy Sid shows up and is totally willing to take us all around the planet for like pennies. Like, oh man, if only that were real. I would love to fly around the planet for pennies. That would be so sick. But no, I guess that's why all the people from Midgar are everywhere, because airfare is dirt cheap, I guess. I don't know. But so Sid's there, and you're like, yo, it's Sid, he's so cool. But of course you don't get to play him at all in this game. He's sort of just a side character. But he takes you to Cosmo Canyon, where Red 13, we sort of learn his past. Red 13 obviously was a you know, a lab experiment by Hojo, but that's not like, he wasn't created by Hojo, right? He was just like studied by Hojo. And Red 13 comes back to his hometown, and he's like, yo, my dad was like a coward, and like I, you know, gotta do better than him. And this dude, this old scientist dude, Bugenhagen, is there, and he's got like this giant astronomy telescope thing, and you like, he's like the leader of this scientific movement called planetology, where I guess the planet is a living creature and its blood is the live stream, and like if the live stream's all drained away, then the planet will die. And so you kind of learn all that. You get to watch some cool cutscenes, pretty nifty. And then Bugenhagen's like, yo, you want to see something cool? There's like a locked door down at the bottom, right? Like, you want to see this cool locked door? And Red 13's like, I mean, I guess, sure. And Bugenhagen's like, oh, you think your dad's like a jerk, right? Well, why don't you go and see? There's this like other dimensional assailants called the Gi that we've like locked away, but like the Gi are like coming back, so we gotta like go deal with them. So we go on through this dungeon of the Gi, and we meet, I guess, like the Gi, the Lord, the King, the Emperor of the Gi, whatever, and he like ferries us across the dimensional boundaries, and we go into like Gi world for a little bit, and we see Red 13's father turned to stone, the legendary warrior, because the Gi like put like stone stuff in their arrows, I guess. Anyway, he's like turned to stone, and Red 13 learns that his dad was cool after all, right? And so that's also similar to the first game. I think they put a lot more importance on like the Gi. In this game, it seems like I don't remember the Gi being the ones that like created the black materia out of their hatred for the world, because they weren't allowed to come in. I don't remember that being a thing in the PS1 game. Correct me if I'm wrong. But in this game, it's a big thing, and you go and learn that the black materia is like this big bad thing. We can't let Sephiroth get it, because that would be the end of the world. That would be really bad. But like nobody knows where the black materia is. I guess Kate Sith sort of knows it's in like a temple, but we don't really know where that's at. So we have to go to Nibelheim, because there's like a computer there, I guess, that has all the information. So again, we globetrot, we hop on Sid's plane, and we fly on over to Nibelheim, this time with the intent of finding where the Temple of the Ancients is, so that we can go and get the black materia before Sephiroth. So we get to Nibelheim. There's like a whole different area there. In the PS1 game, I don't think it's really explained, but in this game, it's like Nibelheim was like rebuilt from the ground up as like a clone of the original, but now it's like there to service Mako poisoning victims. Like basically all the black robe dudes are there, and you're like, whoa, black robe dudes are there, this is different. So they're like going up to the reactor and like do something there. I don't really remember why we had to go up to the reactor, but we go up there, and there's like some Wu Tai soldiers that were like murdered, right? They were like shot down, and that like pisses off Wu Tai, which is like in this version of the game like a big rival to Shinra. I guess there was like a war in the past, and Wu Tai and Shinra had to duke it out, and now there's like a war gonna be brewing again, because Shinra killed some random Wu Tai dudes that were at a reactor for no reason, and that like causes this guy named Gary.
My name is Glenn Lodbrock.
This guy named Gary, who's like this mysterious black robed dude that's like been hanging around Rufus. He like gets on TV and he's like, well, actually I'm from Wu Tai, and there's like a guy that's like better than me, so like he'll be on the TV soon. And he like never comes to the TV. It's just like he just says that, and then like they just leave the cameras on the podium and nobody comes up for like 10 minutes. And then Rufus is like, oh, okay, I guess that's like a thing. So anyway, there's that guy Gary, and
My name is Glenn Lodbrock.
he's like, oh, it's gonna be bad for you, Shinra. And I guess it turns out he was like a soldier, maybe. I don't know. His whole thing is sort of vague and weird. And clearly he has like some connection with the Whispers and Sephiroth. Anyway, so he's like, yeah, there's gonna be a war, and then that sort of never happens in this game. I guess that's gonna be the next game. So we find out that Wu Tai thing happened, and then we gotta go into the Shinra Manor, because the Shinra Manor actually might have the information that Kate Sith needs in order to figure out where the Temple of the Ancients is. So we go in, we fight some monsters. Every single one of them I thought was gonna be Vincent. I'm like, oh, is this one Vincent? Oh, is that one Vincent? Because in the PS1 game, Vincent's there. You don't get to, I don't think you get him at that point in the PlayStation 1 game, but you see him floating in a tank or like in a coffin or something. Anyway, he shows up in this game, and he's as cool as ever. He's Vincent. Everybody loves Vincent. and you got to fight him, and that's a pretty neat fight. And then he's like, you know, leave and never come back, and I don't ever want to see you again. And then he like joins you immediately there, but you don't get to play as him. He's just like a hanger-on. So you find all the stuff, and then you're like, okay, I know where the black materia is. I know where the Temple of the Ancients is. But first, you know, I can't get there. You got to get a key. And the key, very importantly, is at the gold saucer. Dio has it, I'm pretty sure. Like, he had it last time, like 10 years ago. So he probably still has it. So you get there, and Dio's like, I do have it, as a matter of fact. But also, there's like a big fight coming up. Will you help me in the big fight? Because like this jerk from Midgar, Don Corneo, who's like this sleazebag like pimp, he's like, he wants to own the gold saucer. And you're like, how did Don Corneo get out? Why is everybody leaving Midgar? Maybe that happened in the PS1 game. You know, it's been about 6 or 7 years since I played that game last. But I don't think Don Corneo came back. Anyway, you got to fight Don Corneo's goons. That's the whole thing. You got to get the keystone. When you win, which you do win, by the way, when you win, Shinra shows up, and the Turks, with the help of jerk Kate Sith, who turns out was actually a member of the Turks all along, even though you already knew that because it sort of showed you that the whole time. But anyway, he was a member of the Turks all along, and he gives away the keystone to the Turks. And then you leave after you won the tournament, by the way, because you got the keystone. It was given to you because you won. You leave to follow the Turks, and they say, oh, I guess both parties withdraw. Both parties are disqualified. Even though you literally gave me the prize for winning, I'm disqualified. Anyway.
I suicide.
All right.
It's a naming rights today. Ladies and gentlemen, it's all over. Victory goes to Dio's champions. You're damn right.
Nice work, guys! We did it! We won!
Enough of this farce.
So, are we gonna go after him?
Not yet. First,
We find Kate Sith, right?
right.
I thought I'd seen it all, but this is the mother of all twists. Whoa! Ladies and gentlemen, both teams are disqualified. I don't think anyone could have predicted this outcome.
Disqualified? I won. What am I disqualified
Should we look
for?
for the others, too?
You gave me the prize.
Okay.
And they stole. Why am I disqualified? We got disqualified, I guess, and we go chasing after the Turks. And there is a at this point there's like been a problem with Sid's plane. It like crashed in the water right before this, and now it's a boat. So now we get to do like all this boat stuff, and we can like go around the world in a boat. So that's cool. So we take our boat up north. We finally get to go. There was like this fog wall you were never able to pass before, but we finally get to go past the fog wall, and it looks like Shinra's beating us to the punch on the temple. We see Rufus in a helicopter flying towards the temple. The Turks are there. They put the keystone in, and the temple appears out of like a billion blocks. It's pretty cool. They all fall from the sky. Pretty neat. And then you go into the temple, and it's like this MC Escher painting where like there's stairs everywhere. I think that's right. Is that MC Escher? Like, I'm not a art history major, I don't know, but I think that's an MC Escher painting where the stairs are everywhere. So you're going up and down all these stairs. Extremely different from what happened in the PS1 game. and then you go into like the heart of the thing, and you see that like the Cetra were there, but humans, the big old bad humans were there, and they were killing all the Cetra, because I guess the Cetra aren't actually humans, obviously. They're like the ancients. I guess they're also from space. I don't know, who knows, but they're there. And well, there's like holograms of them all fighting. You see all these holograms. And then you go and you get the black materia, and when you get the black materia, Kate Sith has to go in and save you, because oh god, it's like Indiana Jones. When you take the thing, there's a trap. So they took the black materia, and then Kate Sith is trying to like stop the plate from, like, I guess when the plate lowers all the way, it like kills everyone, and Kate Sith's like holding it. So you escape, and you're like, oh no, Kate Sith's dead, the guy that betrayed us. And then the second he dies, he shows right back up, because that's what happens in the PS1 game. He's just like, oh yeah, I was a robot, no worries, don't worry about me. So he's fine. But you know who's not fine is Cloud, because he is like all crazy. Sephiroth's in his brain, you know, making him sort of do stuff like a puppet. And you're like moving without your control, and Aerith grabs that black materia and she runs, and Cloud like walks her down, and then like they like fall because Sephiroth cut a tree in half. I don't know. Anyway, they fall, and then you get more flashbacks, and then Cloud's like going through different dimensions. This part's very weird. Yeah, there's a lot of that. A lot of different dimension stuff happens. I don't remember. It could have been different time. Anyway, it happens, and then you go and you're like, oh man, I guess like Cloud and Aerith are like all going on like dates and stuff, or other things. The other timeline is very weird, but Cloud's like he's like this timeline's version of Cloud, but he's like going through, and like Aerith is like different, he says, although Aerith sort of seems the same to me. I mean, she looked like normal Aerith, and like she acted sort of like normal Aerith. But anyway, Cloud's convinced that she's acting different. Cloud finally wakes up from this parallel dimension travel, and you're like in this smoky forest. You're like in this lost area, trying to find your way through the fog. In the PS1 game, this was like a big puzzle. You had to do like a bunch of stuff to get through the forest so you can get to the City of the Ancients. In this game, it just instantly happens. You're just there. And when you get there, there's like a billion whispers all there, and you're like, oh man, fate. Oh, it's fate. And then you go in, and like it's that scene from the PlayStation 1 game. Aerith's there praying, and you get there, though this time you get there in time, and Sephiroth falls from the sky, and you like deflect his sword with yours, and his sword like lands cleanly on the ground away from Aerith, and it's fine, everything's fine. And then there's like a staticky cut, and then the sword starts bleeding, and you're like, what the hell happened? What happened? And then all the timelines are converging, I guess. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense at this point, because you saved her, but then in the PS1 game she died, so then in this game she also maybe dies, and then you have some weird fight in the middle of the timelines. I don't know. This is where it gets insane, and then all things are happening, and then Zack shows up, and then you're fighting with Zack, and then Aerith comes back, and then you're fighting the end Sephiroth from the Final Fantasy VII, the third game, I guess, like the Super Sephiroth, where he's like Sephiroth, and then he's got like another Sephiroth coming out of his hair, and then you fight that. Am I making sense yet? And then you do that, and then Aerith's still there, and everyone's crying, but you're seeing Aerith, and you're like, is she there? And I guess she's not. And then there's like another cutscene where you're all like on this really pretty like meadow, mountainy meadow, and they're fixing the plane, and then like Aerith's there, and then the tiny Bronco is like ready to leave, and they're like, come on y'all. And then you like, everyone's sad that Aerith's dead, but Aerith's like right there, and then you're talking to her as Cloud, And then she's like, later, y'all, I gotta stay here. And Cloud's like, I guess peace out. And then you fly away. And that was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Anyway, fantastic game. Super good. Highly recommend. All right, so that finishes up our discussion on the story of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And I gotta say, I did love this game. I loved it. It was so good. Probably the best RPG I've played in a long time. Maybe the best game I've played in a while. So super good. And of course, that means I'm looking forward to the third game, the next game. What is even gonna happen in it? So let's sort of talk about that. I don't know, is there supposed to be more than one more game coming? I hope we get more than one more, because I don't know how they're gonna wrap everything up with one more game. So I hope we get more. But yeah, in the next game, all right, so here's what we know. Obviously, you know, Sephiroth's out there. We gotta find him in the Northern Crater, of course. The Black Materia, we're gonna have Meteor, sure. We've got weapons that we need to end up fighting. They're gonna attack. They're gonna move this cannon here over to Midgar, so we're definitely going back to Midgar. I don't know what's happening with Glenn. That's gonna be big. Obviously, Wu-Tai is gonna be a huge part of the next game. So I think next game is gonna be like Wu-Tai and weapons, maybe? I don't know. What do y'all think? What is happening in the next game? There's obviously there's some craziness that happened at the end of this game with Zack and Aerith and the timelines converging. I don't know what's gonna happen with that. I mean, I guess we sort of had a weird timeline thing at the end of the first game, and that really didn't have a lot of impact on this game. So, I mean, obviously we saw Zack, and he was doing his whole thing in his sub-universe. But yeah, what the heck is gonna happen in the next game? So, where do we go from here? I think, you know, we're going to, we're gonna get the Highwind. We might get the submarine. We might do the underwater reactor, the big materia. What is gonna happen next game? I don't know, but I am super excited. Anyway, this was my unhinged review of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I love the game, but it was nice to just kind of talk about it. If y'all like this kind of long-form discussionary, conversational review, let me know. Let me know what your thoughts are and how I did, and let me know what the hell is happening in the next game. Are there gonna be more sequels? Is it just the next game? I really hope not. But I guess we'll have to see. This game obviously took 5 years after the first game, but you know, COVID hit in the middle of that. I'm sure that slowed development. Hopefully we won't have to wait another 5 years for this game's sequel, for the third game. I think they could easily do 5 games at the pace that they're going now. We could have maybe 2 games per disc, and then the last disc would be just 1 game, maybe. I mean, maybe we could do it in 4 games. I don't think we could do it in 3, but oh man, I'm so excited to see the weapons. I hope they aren't all just the same fishes. I really hope we get to see some of the iconic weapons. I'm excited for that. The Highwind, I hope we get to fly a vehicle. It's just not a Final Fantasy if you can't fly around. Dragon Quest does it. They let you fly around, you know? Final Fantasy, come on. Plus, are we gonna have a submarine? There wasn't really a lot to do in the submarine, the PS1 game. There was obviously the story stuff, and then there was Emerald Weapon, and then there was the sunken ship. The plane that went down has all that crazy good materia in it. Super hard fights. But I hope we get to do that. Yeah. Anyway, thank you all. If you made it to the end, you're amazing. Thank you.